I have no idea. Let me rephrase that question into, should I be using multi-tenant? Is probably the better question. It's like, if I'm upgrading to Oracle 12, should I use a non-tenanted database or a multi-tenant database, or etc.? I would say my advice to you would be, to anyone, would be, if you're moving to Oracle 12, use the multi-tenant database. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, hey, go spend some money on licenses. Yeah, you have a fantastic time giving lots of money to Oracle. If you're happily running 10 normal databases at the moment and you're going to move to 10 databases in Oracle 12, make each one of them a single tenant database. There's no cost for that, rather than a non-tenanted database at all. I don't really know. I don't think we even have a term for it. Was it a non-CDB? Whatever. It's something that doesn't have any tenants. The reason for that is pretty simple. Strategically, we're moving toward multi-tenant. All of our cloud databases, if you get stuff off our cloud, runs multi-tenant. Where do you think all the technological investment, all the best support, all the bug fixes are going to be targeted toward? It's that platform, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense for anyone to maintain multiple code bases. Remember back in the days when Windows used to have Windows NT and Windows 95 or etc. or XP, two separate code bases, one for server, one for desktop, and eventually they merged. Now generally all these things run a common sort of code base. Oracle's the same. It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to run a non-CDB set of architecture and a CDB architecture. It's hard, we have to carve up half the intelligence in the organization to each group. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So rest assured, eventually it'll only be the tenanted option. I'm going to try something here. This is something I haven't. Okay, so this is just a bit of fun. I have two webcams. So this is my second webcam. Hopefully everyone can see. Shout out in the chat if you can't see the fact that there's a piece of paper and a pen sitting in front of this webcam. Here's why I think moving to tenanted is a good idea. This is the standard diagram you've seen. We say have a CDB and you'll have tenant number 1, tenant number 2, tenant number 3, and it'll all be fantastic. And you're all going, yeah, that's all fantastic except for that. You're going to kill me on licensing. Fair enough. But obviously, if you go this way, with one tenant in each database, there's no additional fee. Absolutely no additional fee. And you've got one tenant, at which point you're going, what does that get me? Gets me absolutely nothing. It is true that there's a whole stack of multi-tenant features, and hopefully you've been going to the Patrick's multi-tenant office hours things and asking him questions about it, of things like snapshot, rolling carousel, instant cloning, all this really cool stuff with multi-tenant, but obviously you have to pay for it. If you can get value out of any option, then you should spend the money. If you can't get value out of it, don't spend the money. Don't just spend it because someone said it's a good idea. But here's my tip for why you want to be going single tenant. So here's a single tenant. Here's a single tenant. Without breaking your license, you can't put a second tenant into this database, but you can unplug this tenant and store it somewhere. I'll put it, I'll give it a different look. You can unplug that tenant and store it somewhere and put another one in there. Why is that cool? Well, think about it, for example, as a developer. I can have, for example, I'll call it a gold image, a version of my development database at application 2. My application is version 2.0. I'll store that out on the shelf. That's a pluggable 2.0 of my application. I can let someone bring that into that database, just the one tenant, so not buying a license, and they can mess with it. They can do development against it, they can do testing, unit testing, whatever. They can build version 2.1, right? Mess it up, break it, whatever. And then they go, okay, I'm reaching for more colors here. What have we got? Let's try blue. I've messed it up, fine. I think I'm ready. I can ditch it. Blue doesn't work. Black. I can ditch it and bring a clean version of Tobacco back in and do some more testing. This whole thing about, I want to do agile. I want to actually spool up databases really fast. It's so common that the biggest thing that's the problem we have in systems is they say, everyone has to share one database. Well, with a multi-tenant option, right? With multi-tenants like this, you could actually very easily have a whole stack of pre-delivered or pre-built pluggables on the shelf, so to speak. As long as they're not concurrently in databases, you'll be okay. have them out on the shelf, and you can ship them into your database as required. And in particular, what's coming out later this year? 18C Express Edition. It will have all options enabled, right? 100% free, limits on the size and everything like normal XC, but all the options are there. You can have greater than one pluggable database in there. You can have in memory, you can have compression, you can have everything. As a developer, I can have pluggables in my own little version of 18CXC, work on my system privately, unplug a database from there, and plug it into my main development database out here in my departmental server somewhere when I need to ship things in. That's why I think having a tenanted system, even if you're only running one tenant, is actually a cool idea.